Okay, let's see who we have with hand up. Amit and Rinshu.
Let me unmute. Hi, Angelo.
Hello.
Ah, so it happens every time when I sit for double barrel is that I have questions before and I have questions after, but during these 2 hours, I have no questions at all. So this time I was like, I'm gonna press my hands up button right at the beginning. So I just get a chance to spend some time with you and inquire about this. And also, 6 weeks ago, I was diagnosed with cancer, and that just turned the whole thing around in my environment within me. Never thought that I could have so many thoughts gripping. Intense emotions, yes, I'm able to sit with them, I can feel them, but the thoughts are so gripping and sometimes so frustrating. Uh, I know I can't stop them, but I just don't want them. There's so much of push and pull with them that it's tiring.
Yeah. Barb, feel free to answer if you have anything at the moment.
I think I always say the same thing, but that's what I would do is go within and try to look at those thoughts one by one and see if those thoughts are actually real, if that is a possibility that can happen in the future and you're planning it out like it's going to happen, or if there's any truth in it right at the moment. So just stay in the now moment because it changes all the time. It's not graspable. If you just watch it, there isn't anything you're doing to make it happen, and it is always changing. So this whole idea that we can plan is not true. Certainly not. So if we just wait and if we get clear enough, there is great peace. And I personally haven't had that health issue. I've had significant health issues within my family, so I know what it feels like to be helpless and out of control and in whatever is going on. But that is the false self, because what you are in actuality can't be harmed.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I would just say, don't struggle with thoughts per se. Like listening to the question, there's a sense that they shouldn't be there, or I don't want them to be there. And if that happens, you might even notice, oh, okay, there's an element I hadn't noticed, which is a sort of resistance to thoughts, or a belief that these thoughts shouldn't be here. Okay, what does it feel like to feel that resistance, or maybe even a resentment of thoughts, right? If only these thoughts weren't here, I could be calm. Yeah. If only these thoughts weren't here, I could be okay. But is it true? Am I not okay because these thoughts are here? What if I stop pushing and pulling on thoughts altogether right now and just experience what it is to be here and to be whatever that thought texture is and the sensation texture that comes with it? Because there's almost always, if there's thoughts, there's almost always something in the body too. There's a polarity usually, or something we're reacting to up here, and wow, can I just be with both at the same time? Can I be with, if there's a resistance tone that's saying no, 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 no to this experience, whatever part of it, it's very hard to be with like everything at once. But when that resistance tone is met fully and that can calm down, then it's actually rather easy to be with everything at once. It's easier to be with like, oh yeah, there can be thought here, there can be movement of consciousness and sensation, and but I'm not getting bound up into beliefs like there's this big problem I'm trying to fix that I have to fix or can't fix. It's more like, oh, it's just an experience of thought, an experience of movement of mind, an experience of movement of sensations in the body. And I can be here with this whole thing. It may feel expansive, it may feel inward, it may feel upward and downward. It can feel however it feels, actually. But it's very much right here. Just as Barbara is describing, it's not somewhere else. That's Tony described it really well in his talks as well. It's like the realization that everything is here is a huge revelation, actually. There's no future to manage. Any decision that's made is going to be made here. Anything that's done is going to be done here. Anything that arises will arise here. Anything that's noticed is noticed here. That can be a thought, a sensation, a image of the mind. It can be colors and shapes and an animal and a feeling. It can be anything, but it's all right here. I don't have to get to another moment. I don't have to get to a solution. There's no getting to anything. There's really just noticing. There's really just clear seeing. Does that help to sort of feel into it that way?
Yeah, it does. And you mentioned it right there that it's the push and pull of the decisions that have to be made. They seem to be like the decisions are to be made now, but that something in the future is gonna depend on those few decisions that I'm doing now. And what
Mhm.
if the decision that I make now is is not the right one? So there's always a doubt as well. Big
Mhm.
element of doubt has always been there in my life, but it is
Mhm.
showing up so beautifully right now. Not beautifully, I can say actually, but
Yeah.
absolute. I'm in doubt and anxiety all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, you can test that belief too. Like if there's a belief that says, what if I didn't make the right decision, right? Maybe it's less of like trying to manage the future because you've already made the decision you made or whatever. But there's something that's like, ooh, what if that's the wrong decision? What if I should do this or this or this?
Yeah,
Sometimes you can just test that and say, do I know in my heart of hearts that I made the smartest decision with the information I have right now? Yes. Okay. That's good to know. Because then no amount of second guessing myself is going to do anything but make me feel a little bit disheveled.
yeah,
The truth of it is you made the decision you made, or you're making the decision you may make in this moment, based on what the information is you have. And that's it. Practically speaking, there's really nothing more to do beyond this until some, say, new information comes in or something changes. If you're really second guessing a certain decision or something, just run it by somebody, your partner or your doctor or whatever, just to reassure yourself, okay, yeah, that is the sort of wise thing to do at this moment. And just go, okay, I can relax into the sensations now until the next sort of event occurs that where I have to make another decision. Now that I've sort of digested that the second guessing is not really helpful, it's just a
yeah,
bunch of thoughts. Now I can actually let myself feel for a while. Let me just feel this. Don't try to make, how to say this. Don't try to make the feeling a certain way. So we might have an idea that, oh, it has to be deep down here or in the gut or in a certain part of my body or whatever. It can be anywhere. The sensations can be literally anywhere. They can be even feel like they're outside the body, but come to the body first, or the sensations that you associate with yourself or your own physical body first. Anywhere that is, it could be all over, it could be one place. Just come there first and just go, okay, this is where I want to explore, and just stay and feel, and then let the movement happen naturally and sort of dance with the movement. However it moves, however it appears, however it disappears, it's already okay. It knows what to do. I don't need to do anything beyond this. I'm called to feel and surrender to the feeling and the sensations in this moment. And that's it. Yeah.
thank you.
You're so welcome. Good luck with everything. Okay, let's go to Josh Tan or Tan.
Hey, Angela, it's tan, like the color.
Okay,
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Doing good. Thanks. I wanted to ask you a question of, I guess it's just kind of like a general life question. I just came through like a 10-day period of just being like totally apathetic. Like, but the in the past, I used to have all this like mental noise, like I'm not doing enough, I'm not enough, I have to go do something, self-judgment, self-loathing, all this stuff, right? But now, since I've been, looking at, I guess, spirituality or like nature, the true nature of things, I don't know what to call it. I see all the noise and I can just like bracket it and it's like there, but then I'm just kind of like stuck in this like place that I don't really want to be in. It doesn't really feel great. I don't really get anything done. And it just kind of like is very, I find myself very easily distracted, coping, like all that. So I guess what I'm saying is I used to get stuck in the mind and try to figure things out, and I'm not there anymore. But now I'm at this place where I'm like, like, like that. So like now what?
Mm.
It sounds
think,
to
Barb?
me like it's still the mind saying, okay, well, if that's not the right stuff, then we'll just do boring for a while. Like we're still not going anywhere, but now we're taking away the pleasures. So, yeah, I would just keep looking, keep going.
Yeah, I agree. The way you described the distinction is interesting too. Like sometimes I think through the way we form identity or form our perceptions growing up, we may have a sort of childish life, a sort of childish way of moving through life where we're in presence and we're in flow and we're creative and we're just doing whatever a child does. And our parents come along and they're like, no, 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 you got to do this, this, and this, and this, and we internalize that. It's like, I'm not good enough. Oh, I'm only good enough if I do this, this, and this, and this. And so when we drive ourselves in a way that may be partially inauthentic or very inauthentic. And then as we start to wake up, that part goes away, that layer kind of dissolves. And then the layer underneath is still there, that sort of childish layer is like, well, I don't want to do anything. Almost like a oversteering, like when you're learning to ride a bike or something. But as Barb said, it's usually a phase. It is a sort of stance of the mind. It's a stance of thought that says I'm bored or there's nothing to do, or I don't know what to do. When it feels heady or disconnected, can still be rather thought-based. There was a pretty good exchange with someone named Sasha at a retreat a little over a year ago, and I've interviewed her twice since, but that was kind of her initial primary description is just like, I feel this place of boredom. Like I get to a certain level and then there's just nothing happening. It's just like bored, or I don't know what to do, or I'm bored or something. And actually breaking through that distinction for her was what caused her awakening, was when she realized that was not just a thought, it was her identity at that point. She was identifying with being the one who's bored, who doesn't know where to go, or doesn't know what to do, or doesn't have the effort, doesn't know how to put effort, or doesn't know where to put effort, or is just not interested anymore. That definitely can be an identity stance. So you could check out those videos if you want. One of them's called "This Short Exchange Led to Awakening," and then there was an interview with her after. But yeah, it does sort of feel like a mind state, and it's normal. We all go through this at some point where we're just like, oh, I'm not interested anymore, But underneath it, there's definitely some other stuff going on. There's something churning that does want to address the deeper things, and there's also a part of us that still feels dissatisfied, and we're not really like fully energetically integrated and experiencing that sort of rather beautiful intimacy. It's more like we're kind of up here, So.
Okay.
Awesome. Yep. And it may just go away, like things change all the time. Everything changes. You never know what's around the next corner.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. Okay, let's go to Peter.
Thank you for taking my question. You've said in some of your videos, in working with sights and sounds, to see the silence beneath them, to see what's there prior to sights and sounds. And I've been working with that this last week somewhat, and it feels like my mind wants to make it up. It wants to say, oh, I think I can see what this is all about, but maybe I just fabricated that, and then I go back to kind of seeing everything in the phenomenal world as we usually see it. And as an artist, I'm used to seeing and analyzing shapes and edges and colors and to see the world in that way. But I still have a hard time seeing what's prior to those shapes and edges and colors and not as much sounds, but even sounds sometimes I have trouble seeing the silence before the sound appears. And I think I have the same kind of question with inquiry. A lot of times the mind will fabricate, or it'll feel like it's coming up with a response or an answer that doesn't feel genuine, feels fabricated. I don't know if you get a sense of my question or if you have any pointers to how I can break through that.
I'd say the silence is not before or after the sound. It's really constant and here really is in the foreground. So the sound comes and it moves past, but it's moving past in silence. So what you're feeling is probably exactly what you need to be feeling, what you will be feeling, but your mind is saying, oh, I don't think that's it. That's just a doubt, actually. So explore that doubt. Doubt is a big one for me, certainly. So, but I actually call it my old friend doubt. And when it comes, I say, oh, yes, I see you. What are you going to show me this time? And it may be, uncomfortable, but you'll be able to tell as well when those thoughts, when you feel those thoughts, if it feels like it's intuitive and coming from a different place than just the mind trying to give answers, you'll start to feel the difference. So really just feel. And then the other question about inquiry, I'll let Angelo answer.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
when I said prior, I think I was using Angelo's word. I understand that it prior doesn't mean before, but it means what you said.
I see. Yes. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So Peter, what the part that Barb described about doubt is exactly where my attention went when you gave the description, is getting a little bit bound up with doubt, or just maybe sometimes it's not recognizing a doubt as a doubt. Although you did mention, oh, that's I don't know if it's my mind getting a hold of me or what it is. As Barb said, it's already here. And I think the point of saying it's not primary or first or second or behind, it's just here already. The point of that is to see that a doubt is never actually pointing to it. It's never pointing to anything. The doubt is just a thought, right? But it can make it seem like something's not here that is here, actually. It is the case already. That silence is here. That empty nature is here all the time. So notice the doubt as a doubt as clearly as you can, and recognize what it's doing. It's trying to point to something it can't actually point to and say that's not here. Which, like, or something like it's going to say nothingness isn't here or emptiness. But again, that's like, it's paradoxical and it's kind of funny and ironic because the mind is doing that with its own version of it, and even its own version of nothingness isn't accurate. It's nothing the mind can actually characterize. So recognizing doubt in real time is very helpful. Oh, okay, there's a doubt. Okay, there's a doubt. What else is here? And you're right there. It's right there. And another doubt could come right away. No, but I don't see it. I don't hear it. Oh, it's another doubt. What else is here? here. What else is the case right now? Then a thought might even try to get a little tricky with you and go, but I always get caught up in my doubt. Oh, there's another thought. Okay. All right. That's just a third kind of doubt. That's a summarizing doubt. It's nominalization. It's summarizing you in a believable way, but there's no you to summarize that way. That's the illusion. There's nothing that refers back to. There's only what's happening now. There's only what's experienced in this moment, or what's appearing, or there's only this. So any doubt is not actually pointing to anything. It's simply a movement of consciousness.
Yeah, I think what I'm doing is resisting the doubt and pushing it away instead of accepting it.
Yeah, that's right.
Looking deeper.
Yep. Resisting something is also believing it. Whether that's the push and pull that I talk about all the time. Push and pull only happens really in thought. You can't push or pull on a direct experience, because a direct experience doesn't have duality such that there's a pushing and pulling. Thought does, though. It seems to, at least. It seems to have the ability for us to go, oh, no, that's a doubt. But by pushing it away, we're actually giving it life in a way. We're sort of believing in it by trying to reject it. Instead, just recognize that's just merely a doubt. It's merely a doubt-flavored thought. What else is here? What else is the case? It's just not a problem that thought arose at all. Like we have this built-in belief that, oh no, the doubt came. That must mean that reality stopped being reality. Did it? Think how funny that is to think about, right? It's like, do you think a doubt saying, oh, I'm not sure if this is true, can stop reality? No, it can't. They can't do anything. It's just a distraction. It's like it's a house of mirrors. It's like looking into a little kaleidoscope and believing what's in there is real. It's like, no, just pull your eye away from the kaleidoscope. See this, you just have to do it, I think, enough times until the trust in direct experience gets enough traction, so we don't use the mind all the time in that polarized way to sort of run from it for no reason at all. It seems like there's a reason, but there's no reason that we even run from this immediate experience.
Thank you. That was helpful.
You're welcome. Cool. We got some more hands up. Let's see here. I think our nod was the first one with their hand up here. Maybe.
Hello, Angelo, do you hear me?
I do.
Nice to talk to you.
Nice
again.
to talk to you.
We talked last month, and since then things have been moving a little bit. The moment where I tend to dissolve have been more intense. There is something else which has happened. I kind of developed a sensation inside that there is something which is dimming and dimming and dimming faster than it ever did before. Last week, for a fraction of a second, it flicked out, or nearly flicked out, and immediately came back. But the feeling that happened during this brief moment was like if there was a slab of concrete deep inside me, onto which everything I thought I was is built on. This big slab of concrete detached from the ground where it was, just for a very brief moment, but it started to, you wanted to float away. It was very brief, but it provoked a huge episode of grief and sadness right after that. but it's not the only thing that happened. I also had the episode of laughter, uncontrollable laughter, which was great when I had this feeling that for a moment I lost both the past and the future. So I was just in the room, and it became incredibly funny, the amount of thought that we could have for when we don't see, when the time seems to have stopped, there are much less things to worry about. So it was very funny, that episode. And I don't really have a specific question today for you. I think I just have a feeling that I would need some reassurance from you that this is okay and that I am okay. And of course, if you have some advice, or I would be very happy to hear those. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, that's go ahead, Barb.
Yes, that's exciting. That's wonderful. Follow that feeling. Yes, good. So, when it left, that feeling that you had for that small time is what's available and more. So it is just getting yourself out of the way, and that feeling of something rising or something falling is tremendous, because it's belief structures that are crumbling. They cannot support you anymore, because even though themselves don't believe in themselves, they have no basis, and they're finding that out. So it's wonderful, and celebrate that. It's great.
It's scary right now.
Yes, it's very scary, I know, but it is really that false self, that shallow self that thinks it's a guppy in the ocean that's getting beat up all the time, when it's really the ocean itself. So I know that feeling, and it's awful. It's terrible suffering and scary, but it isn't real. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, everything she said. I mean, I had the same exact response as like, that's awesome. Like to go right to where you're going there. For anyone else listening, you already know this, and Barb knows this, and I know this, but for anyone else listening, what I think you're describing is, when you say the foundation underneath you just drops, it's like, I might almost describe it as the fabric of reality itself just sort of disappearing, just sort of like deconstructing itself. And you cannot be prepared for that. There's no way to be prepared. It's that kind of thing. The apparatus of what feels like you, that's always trying to be prepared in life, that's what's coming apart. There's nothing that can reach around and protect that. But as Barb said, it's also false. There's no way to know that thoroughly until it does this, though. Until it does this enough to deconstruct itself, no amount of intellectual or even like earlier awakening type experiences can actually either prepare you for it nor get you to thoroughly digest it. You have to go through it, and that's okay. You're going through it, and it turns out to be more than okay, but it's disconcerting. There's no good word for it. It's like, it's not even fear. It's like, it's more primal than fear in a way. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And you're okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay. Where are we at here? I think Jeff had his hand up.
Yeah. Hey, Angelo.
Hey,
It's been a while.
it has. Nice to see you again.
Good to see you too. Well, if you recall, last October during Josh's first Ouroboros with you and Alma and Eshwar, I was talking about my monkey mind, which never shuts up, and I've always been extremely mind identified, and so you guys actually, all four of you, said, maybe you want to back off a little bit on the reading and the YouTubes and even some of the meditating, which I did. And it was, spot on advice, first of all. I also talked a little bit about how much discomfort I had with discomfort, both mine and other people's, so it was really, I would start to feel empathy for someone else when they were in discomfort, but then I would just feel like, what do I do now? And the same thing with my own discomfort, it felt weird. It didn't. And so I started, sitting more with a lot of that. Because I wasn't reading and I wasn't watching YouTubes. It was just being. And I started to see all of these areas where there was just a ton of resistance all over the place. And then about 3 weeks ago, I started back in with the meditation, like beginning of the year. And about 3 weeks ago, I did a week-long Mahamudra retreat. And she did something that has completely changed sort of everything for me. And that is at the beginning of every meditation, she would start with a heart practice. So, maybe it was metta, or she had this thing she called field of care, where you envision a benefactor. I use the Dalai Lama. And you just sort of, bathe in the compassion that's coming off of them. And then you picture yourself as a window and you just feel the compassion coming into you and then radiating out to the rest of the world. So you're just sort of swimming in compassion at the beginning of every meditation. And then she would do a breath practice to kind of settle the mind. And then we would go into spacious awareness. And I found then that as thoughts would start popping up into my mind, I'd be accepting them. I had all this compassion built up into my body. And so there was compassion for these thoughts. And at first it would be more thoughts saying, oh, thanks for being here. You're welcome. And after a while, I realized, well, that's just more thought. And so then there was just this vision of the Dalai Lama, doing that big smile, and you could just feel compassion radiating from him. And every time a thought would pop up, it was just Dalai Lama, thought, Dalai Lama, thought, Dalai Lama. And about halfway through the retreat, I was just sitting and I realized my mind was completely quiet. No thoughts at all. And every now and then I'd feel a thought start to percolate and it would just sort of dissipate almost, before it would even really form. And that held for the whole retreat. It held for the entire week after the retreat. Now 3 weeks later, thoughts are starting to creep back in. But the amazing thing is that the silence is always there now. Whereas before I couldn't find it, I would get caught in the thoughts. But now, I'd start to notice that my mind is going off again, and I can just rest, and it's dead silent. And it is so peaceful. It's nothing I've ever felt before. I feel emotional as I'm talking about it, because it's just such a difference from where I came from. And so, coinciding with this, I actually started to look into IFS. And so, all of these points of resistance that I had that I'm showing compassion for now, now I'm starting to identify them and name them, and I'm recognizing what their role is kind of in my own internal family, and seeing who they're protecting, and with all of the compassion that's radiating out to them now too, it's been game changing for me. And so for me, that seems to be kind of the entry point to finally reach some point of silence. I haven't had that shift yet, where I'm still subject object, but I don't even really care about that anymore, because everything is just the peacefulness is always just a moment away. So no matter what state I'm in now, it's just settling down and the peace is there. Yes. And so I don't really have any questions, but I just wanted to let you know that for me anyway, and for anyone else out there who may be struggling, for me, the compassion aspect, and in particular the self-compassion aspect, is what really broke things open for me. So
Beautiful.
Yeah, how wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels pretty good, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
I'm really happy for you. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks. And I've noticed too that even though most of the compassion's been directed internally, it just sort of naturally starts to radiate back out again too. So the level of compassion that I have, for the rest of the world, for everything, is increasing too. So yeah, it's wonderful.
What was your resource for the meta approach or meta meditation? Is it something you came up with, or did you say someone demonstrated
No,
it?
this was in the retreat I was in.
Gotcha.
The teacher was a Mahamudra and Dzogchen teacher. And so, those tantric Buddhist teachings are very direct pointing, but she added in that compassion piece. So it was the very first thing we did for every meditation we did for the entire week, was, like maybe 10 minutes of just soaking in compassion. And so by the time we got to just sitting in spacious awareness, there's just like everything is just filled with compassion, and it made such a difference.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
What resource are you using for IFS or internal family systems?
Well, I actually, I was watching one of David McDonald's videos, and he's been really getting into it. And so I got Richard Schwartz's book, No Bad Parts. And so I've been working my way through that.
Cool. Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for checking in. I'm really happy for you.
Yeah, thanks. And thank you and everybody being back here again after a few months off and seeing, Lubena and Kate and Arnaud. It's like, being with old friends again. So it's been really nice.
Awesome. All right. Let's go to Terry.
Okay. So my partner, who is very committed to inquiry and awakening, and who is much younger than I, is having a child this spring. I never had children, and I'm just thinking about how we're going to teach them who they are, and they're separate from their mom, and all the concepts. And do you have any idea if there's anything to be done to teach them in a way so that the self structure isn't so heavy and that they can wake up easier or maybe not go to sleep at all?
Yeah. I mean, so it's going to be energetic. So it's how clear you are, how you move physically around them, how you how you touch them, how you have physical contact, and just a simplicity of experience, that you're going to have to teach them labels for things and words and all that, and numbers and alphabet. That's all the normal things that a kid is going to learn. And that's all fine. Keeping their attention engaged in and interested in the senses in a direct way can be really helpful. So like, let them explore the senses. Ask them how things feel. How do colors feel? How does this environment, what do you actually see here? Sometimes if you just ask a small child, what do you actually see here? You might just watch their eyes get big and they go into wonder. They're not trying to label it until you teach them to label it, Yeah, movement, teach them to move intuitively, just encourage, them to be children, and explore that naturalness, that simplicity, that spontaneity. You learn from them in a lot of ways. And not adding more than is necessary is all I can really say at the moment. Teaching them to feel, really, when they start to feel intense emotions and things, which all children will, just telling them it's okay to be in that sensation space in the body. How does the body feel? How does the body want to move right now? Teaching them it's okay to emote. That's all. These things are things where you're not adding to it. Like, we can add coping mechanisms unnecessarily. Sometimes you need to add coping mechanisms or teach them, but teach them that primarily it's okay to feel, and it's okay to express how you feel without harming others, of course. And they'll do well.
Yes, I would say, because you're now aware of the box that we put ourselves in, put other people in now, and the faces that we have to be trained to hide behind, there will be much less face making going on in your household than normal. So that's got to be a benefit.
Yeah, I can't point to a randomized controlled trial, but I mean, my sense would be as you're teaching little ones, you know, that's mom and that's the cat and that's the window and this is your hand, you know, at the same time, they have to learn these labels. They're going to have to learn all these things. At the same time, you can say, and there's also a part of all of this that isn't actually separate. Can you feel that, you know? And you might be surprised that that's really obvious to them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah.
Thank you.
Great question. All right, we are down to Michael.
Hey, Angelo, Barb, everyone. Thank you.
Hi.
Yeah, so for a bit of background, this whole process has been extremely beneficial to me. I would say I was like most intensely interacting with it probably in January or so. And that took me somewhat to that empty space that someone on this call mentioned and that Sasha talked about. And that became a more like dominant feature of my day-to-day life. And I was somewhat checked out of day-to-day life too, but not necessarily in a bad way. Almost like, heck, I can be happy anywhere doing anything, so why do anything at all? And you know, I appreciate Diogenes for going and living in a barrel, but I don't want to go live in a barrel myself. So I dove back into real life, but decided to drop in today because it's important. And that's just some context that may or may not help frame my question, which is that I feel particularly carried or swept up in timeline. I have had, for what it's worth, timeless experience, and so I don't know, that changes my idea of you know what's how it's possible to experience time, but the vast majority of my normal life, I feel like I'm somewhat trapped in a timeline, and it's wrapped up with ideas of success, failure, drive, and like doing things in a right way, getting right results. So as an example of this, like say creating a paradox, I was following inquiry instructions in Angelo's book, and it was like, all right, I'm at page 282, and I make a note of that instruction, and I'm on page 283 and 284, and I go do the practice. And then in the practice, I'm like, oh shoot, but I think I just did that step on page 283 wrong. So I go back to page 283. All right, but now in my timeline, I've left where I was on 284. So like I messed that up, and it creates this like time loop that can't be resolved because any timeline that my mind is trying to construct where I'm doing the right thing is just broken. Like it cannot be like a self-consistent universe in which I'm doing the right thing. And so it's just like the one way to process that is just that like everything is wrong, like everything. Like right action isn't possible. I'm going on and on here, but yeah, maybe one way to wrap that up is that it does feel like there's an element to all this that has to do with will. And we hear in non-duality, there is no will or no personal will or that kind of thing. And yet, in my experience, or to take it to an example of like an athlete or a musician who dives into a performance, like they maybe experience this like timeless flowing space after a commitment to something that's essentially greater than themselves. And something about this like time paradox and feeling caught in the timeline all the time often feels like it prevents me from taking that step into the thing that I ostensibly want to do. Which if I can take that step, then it often is like, starts to feel very effortless. So that's a long question. Thanks for listening.
Sure. What do you got, Barb?
Wow, I would say if it feels like efforting and trying to do the right thing at all moments, then that's the false, shallow self telling you how to live, how not to live, how to deal with everything. And really, it's not that at all. So, again, it's however you find to sink into what's really happening right now. Time is just a construct of your mind, everyone's mind. It actually varies when you look at it. It's not a streamlined thing. Sometimes it makes plenty of space, and sometimes it goes quickly, and it's not something that you can grasp and say, this is time, and I have to perform according to this time to do it right, and I must do everything right. So it is looking beyond that, looking behind that, not paying attention to those thoughts directly, but just looking at them like from a few feet away and thinking, why is that thought here right now? I think it's made to distract me. And it probably is, yes.
Yeah. I agree that a lot of that feels like sort of a sort of getting intertwined with the headiness or with the thoughts. When you talked about the timeline and going in the circles around on the timeline and getting up into the mind, especially if you're reading like my book or you're reading something that's kind of direct, it can seem like all that's happening to try to figure it out, but it's actually not. It's trying to avoid what's being pointed to. It's getting too entangled in thought. There, you might even ask yourself in those moments, like, okay, my mind's saying this and this, it's pulling me this way and that way, and it's so heady, I can't get out of it. You can also say, okay, well, all of that's happening. All of that thought stuff is happening in the analysis and the time. That's all happening, obviously, in some way. I don't know what it means, but there's thoughts about it or something's there. What else is here? What's here that's not any of that? And just see where your attention goes. What's here that's not any of those thoughts? And see where your attention goes. And if it goes to one of those thoughts, you're like, okay, well, I've already acknowledged that. What's here that's not that? What's here that's just not thoughts? Where does your attention go?
Yeah.
You know? Also, I
Yeah, I
wanted to
guess,
say, go ahead. Go ahead.
As you're asking that, I was like, oh wow, you're asking me. I could have an answer. I could think about it. And it goes toward, yeah, I've done lots of that type of inquiry and I'm bored with it, right? Like I still I can't, I feel like I can't get traction in it because I've done so much of it and I've had the experiences of it feeling engaging and dropping in, that's now known territory. And
Yeah.
I don't, I would go back there if I felt like there was a path to, but it's more like whatever I need to do, and I feel like I need to do something isn't obvious to me. Like I don't know which direction to go or how to like reignite the inquiry process into something uh captivating or
Okay.
not captivating or
Great. So your mind said, when you asked the question, what else is here besides all that apparatus of thought and time? Your mind said, I've been here before and I'm bored. That's part of that apparatus. Now, if I
yeah.
ask you, what else is here that's not that? Not the boredom thing. That's part of your thoughts. What else is here that's not that?
I would be tempted toward to say either like nothing or suffering.
Okay. What are you referencing when you say nothing or suffering? Is that a thought or is it a sensation or what is it? If you don't know, that's okay. You don't even have to say
I can
you
see
don't have to.
I can see my thoughts kind of swim around that.
Okay. Slow down. Slow
I
down.
also, yeah.
Slow down. No, slow down. So you can see your thoughts swimming around that. Okay. What is here that's not that? Where else can you look?
There's some sensation in my foot.
Okay. What else?
Quietness.
Mm-hmm. Take the label away, quietness, and now ask, what is this? Take the label away and go right to what is actually there. Just stay there.
The thing that had a label was breath.
Okay. That's another label. That's okay. We're getting to more subtle. You're doing good because you're slowing down. You're slowing down and you're getting to more subtle thoughts. So there's a label called breath. Let's take that away. What is here right now?
Judgment.
Okay. More thoughts. It's okay. What else is here that's not judgment? There's a way to keep looking at thoughts, and there's a way to look away or look somewhere else. It's not even a way.
Yeah.
But I want you to just listen. Just stay where you are. Don't try to figure anything out. Just listen to what I'm going to say. The way it feels right now, this is where I want you to go with inquiry, not into that part where you're like telling stories and it's going this way and that way. And then my thoughts say this and there's struggle and I've been there and I'm bored. And that whole energy is very heady. It's sort of a thought energy. That's okay, but that's not where inquiry is. This is where inquiry is. When it slows down and you have a lot less to think about, a lot less to say, you don't really have answers, but there's definitely something you're looking for in a way. There's something you're trying to orient toward that is not thoughts. That's it. This is it. What I'm showing
clear.
you.
It's like
Good.
it's there. Yeah, like
Good.
there's something there.
Of course. This is the space of inquiry. That's what I want to give you the flavor of. However you get, like Barb said, however you get yourself back to it, doesn't matter. Get yourself back to it. You can watch this video over and just literally go through the steps I just said. Do it again and again and again. It may lead to some intense emotion. For you, I think it will at some point. There may be some kind of heavy emotional block somewhere that you don't know about or you do know about. You may find that and you're like, whoa, okay, whoa, there's a lot to feel now and it's not a thought. That's okay. Go with that. Do some work with that. Spend some time with that and then keep coming back to this. Okay, this is the space of inquiry. You got to slow your mind down. And the way you slow it down is if you're asking the questions, you're in charge. If you're in charge, you're in charge of that inquiry as long as you keep asking the questions with a true intention to see beyond thought. Don't wonder.
Yeah, that true intention part resonates with me because in say like a physical endeavor that opens that flowing experience is preceded by an intent. It's like, and then you just like turn yourself over to the process.
Yep.
And then in the inquiry, I notice I always have two thought streams at once. I have like a voice thought, and I have a second voice thought that evaluates the voice thought and is like the weaver of the voice thought. It's a simultaneous conversation. I don't know if other people are like this or not. And in that exercise we just did, the primary thought voice, the louder one, the one that I'm using to speak right now, went silent. But the other one, the one that currently is thinking about other things, even while I talk to you, was still alive and well. So, but even so, it's nice. It was like, oh, okay, being halfway there or something is
yeah, you gotta watch for the mind doing this. So what it does is it goes, okay, it goes into the past really quickly. You're going into the past to analyze things. So it's like my mind, there's like the one talking and then the one whatever. And I'm like, I'm going, but what about the one that's telling me this story right now? It's another thought believing the past. So there's actually three things going on with that in that moment. But the question isn't, are you telling me that story? The question is, are you telling yourself that story when you try to inquire? Watch for those thoughts that start telling you your story about how you don't know how to inquire. And it feels like it feels like your doubt. It's not your doubt, it's a thought. And then when you notice it, go, oh my God, okay, what is here that's not that? Show me. And if it gets quiet, it gets quiet. That's fine. It's a lot better than thought. Past, future. That's not going to get you anywhere except for more past and future, more thoughts. But going and slowing down, getting to that place where there's literally nothing that you can actually find, but there's something that wants to keep orienting there. That's good. That's good work. And as Barb said, touch in here and there, touch in a few times. You're never going to force yourself to stay somewhere like that. It's not really like that. It's just go in deep when you can, deep into that gap, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And watch for the habits. Habitual thinking will get you so many times. And it's just conditioned to say the same things. I'm bored here. This doesn't work for me. All the reasons to get you to stop what you're doing because that's not okay and move into thought again. That's how it gets its energy, is our attention. So with us paying attention to those thoughts, we're feeding them. When we stop feeding them with our attention and move it away, they become less strident, less sticky.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Appreciate your question. All right. We are at the end of our run here. Thank you, everyone, for all your questions and answers. If you had your hands up here at the end, we can grab you next time. And thank you so much, Barb, for your time and your wisdom and your simple, direct answers.
Thank you so much. My first venture into this. So thank you. It was good.
You're welcome. Yeah, that was beautiful. All right, everybody. Y'all have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Angelo.
You're welcome.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Hey,
much.
can someone remind me what just happened in my conversation?
It will be recorded.
Oh, all right, right, of course.
I mean, it is recorded. You'll be able to see it online.
All right.
Amazing.
Thanks,
I'll
everyone.
keep an eye out for it.
Thank you.